Hi, I'm Rebecca Dawson, and thanks for taking a few moments to sit with me as we reflect upon St Germain's message from the Masters, June 2018, titled The Seed. I'm actually speaking to you today from London. I'm here with a little while for my family and to catch up with some beautiful people from around the world as we unite to celebrate with the birthing of a new era for humanity. So, as we heard in the June message, this is all about potential this month, but potential not in action and in strategy or even with a sense of purpose, but potential in the remembrance and knowing of that which we are. I think this is a really important theme for us this month because, especially those of us, if you're listening to this, this is most likely you, who are very, very pro taking action on the planet, very pro, these are the things that need to be done. We want to birth a whole new era for humanity. We want things to change. We're not happy with the way things are. And even those who are not that concerned with the state of the planet or how we believe things to be, but in our own internal workings and our own internal sense of presence and sense of being, there's often an approach to things that needs to be about work. And how we express ourselves into this world is often translated into terms of effort. So St. Germain's message for me this month was really about us taking this time to stop and reflect that our potential can be found not necessarily in the expression of that which we are, which creates identity and creates effect in the world, but actually in the origin, in the unexpressed of who we are. Now, we live in a world where we are measured as people, we are viewed as people in terms of our actions and in terms of what we actually do, what we say, how we express with people. And of course, in terms of a separated viewpoint of each other, we need to be able to assess. But this is such a wonderful reminder, I think, that our true potential is not in how we are expressing, and it's not in the actions that we take. It's not even on the impact that we're having in the world or with the diligence that we're having with ourselves, but our true potential is in that remembrance that we are already in our totality and that we are already all that we could possibly be. Here we are in this world and we look around ourselves, and it's so easy to sit in judgment and to look and see what needs to be improved, what needs to be corrected, how it is that we can change things. And June really in this message is about, well, if we want change to occur, it really comes from our perception of who we are. And if we all know that we're living gods, and if we all know that our potential is already fully realized, not only does it take the pressure off us having to achieve things or push against things or navigate things or journey through life, it also gives us that beautiful quiet time with the essence of the universe within. When I heard this message from St. Germain, it reminded me of sitting in the womb, just being there in the complete totality of who we are, not yet expressed, not yet interfacing with the world, that most beautiful aspect of us that's in its perfection. I love the term that St. Germain uses to remember who we were before we even knew that we could exhale. So the exhalation in this instance, in how we are actually impressing ourselves upon the world. It's very interesting being in here at London at this time. There's a lot of people in London at this time of year, and what I've discovered is that there is such a strong sense of identity here in terms of beautiful architecture and art and how people have expressed themselves through culture as to self-identification. I had a very interesting lunch with someone a couple of days ago, and the thrust of the conversation was about how important it was to this particular person, their history, their heritage, their sense of identity. And it really occurred to me in that moment that this person hadn't really embraced the totality of who they were. They weren't really that happy with themselves in the world, weren't that happy with the way that they had expressed or impressed themselves upon the world. And so there was a great deal of pride that was taken in them being able to relate to their history. And it was interesting how heated the conversation was getting when I was expressing that, and I don't speak for all Australians, but I do believe I speak for perhaps some of the younger generations that are growing up in Australia at this time, that we don't have the same sense of nostalgia and the same sense of historical identity with our background and our history as perhaps the Brits and many other cultures do. But it occurred to me in that moment that there was such a lack of sense of totality within this person that their sense of place in the world came from everything that had happened before. So it's interesting that St Germain speaks in the June message about how we shouldn't take our sense of potential in terms of what we're actually expressing into the world this month. But it also, that conversation for me made me realize that our sense of potential also isn't based on our history or our heritage. Because both of these aspects, what we will do and what has been done, that timeline is all about limitation. It's all about limitation because we're identifying either with the expression that is yet to come or the expression that has already been. And perhaps where we exist in our totality, where we exist in that essence of the seed of the universe, is right in the middle there, the space between our past and our future. So I'm having a very interesting time here, learning about tradition, learning about the future. A lot of people talking about changes they would like to see in the world. A lot of talk about what will your future be, what will your potential be. Interesting with my son is traveling with me at this time, about questions that are being asked of him about, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do in the world? What is your role going to be? What is your future? What is your validity? And of course, very difficult for a young child to answer that, but interesting that the whole sense of identity around that conversation comes down to what actions will you take? So while it is very important to be present in the world, and it is very important to express our totality into the world, the message for June, as I'm understanding it, is let your identity be in the totality of the universe that you are, not in the actions that you take this month. So also, taking from that, I am anticipating that it's going to be very hard to push through in June. That strategy is not going to work for us. Noses to the grindstone, it's not going to be feeling particularly comfortable. Perhaps a time for us to be sinking back into totality rather than engaging with the expectations of how we are supposed to be engaging in this world. I just want to very briefly touch upon some of the aspects from the May monthly message that have come up this month too, and that would be along the lines of shifts in the crust and the planet really starting to reveal itself. We have heard in recent times that there will be changes in the planet's crust, changes with the water systems. Hands up if you're bloated. I know I still am. Hopefully that will recede very soon. But we have also been hearing in recent weeks about some movements in the crust around the Pacific plates in Hawaii, in Kenya, and other places as well. So although it can be terribly alarming to feel those movements in the earth, and of course destructive in some sense, it's also helpful to remember at this time that the planet really is revealing its greatest essence, and perhaps that this is all a birthing. So thanks for spending a few moments with me. I'm going to exhale and try not to push myself too much during June. I hope that you enable yourself to really relax into all that you are and know that you have already achieved everything that is achievable. The rest is just a beautiful expression, and the isness, consciousness, is in the spontaneous action, not in the strategy, planning, and work. So big love to you all. I hope June is just wonderful for you. I'll be in the United States during June, so more adventures, more learning, more understanding, more remembering, I should say. And obviously not a time for me to be working too hard. I hope this finds you well, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Bye.